Hello, and welcome to this episode. I'm Andrea. I'm a professional certified coach, and my mission through this podcast is to bring new perspectives into people's lives along with valuable information that you can enjoy and put into practice. So, thanks a lot for being part of this journey because I'm really grateful that you are listening to this episode. Also, if you find this episode useful, please make sure you share it with your friends and dear ones and tag me into your sharing so that I get the chance to thank you. You can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me as well on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and also on YouTube. I will share more details in the description box of the episode. While thinking about the introduction of the episode, I had a thought. Well, I had many to be honest, but there's one that stick with me. Let me share it with you. Opportunities don't happen, but you rather create them. I don't know exactly who the author of this idea is, but for sure I resonated with that. So I could say exactly the same thing about the career, because the career and your professional success won't happen just like this, but you rather need to create it. So, my guest today will give you some valuable hints on how you can create and enhance the things that you are doing, because this might not just apply from a career perspective, but as well from a growth perspective overall. In today's episode, you will find answers to questions such as what skills do professionals need to be successful, which are the skills needed for the future in terms of career, and not only how do you stand out from the crowd, and how having the right people around can influence the success of your career, and also which is the best strategy you can use in order to catalyze your career. These are all questions that you will definitely find an answer today, and not just an answer. I really tell you, this was a really valuable and good talk that I had with my guests. Sajna Samad is a talented, inspiring, and experienced career catalyzer that makes wonders with everybody that is working with her. As I concluded at the end of the episode, the discussion and the ideas that she shared, I wish I knew earlier in my career. But you know what they say, better later than never. So that is why I strongly recommend you share this episode with your friends, with your manager, maybe with recruiters that you might know. This applies to a wide category of people, and I'm really sure that it will be useful for everyone. I will let my guest tell more about her in the upcoming minutes. So let's get into it. Just enjoy this episode. Hello, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I'm so happy that you are here with me today. I would like to tell our listeners that we had a small conversation before hitting the record button, and we realized that we have so many things in common, share the same values. So I can't wait for you to listen to Sajna's story. And let's give it a go. So as I'm with every of my guests, the first question is exactly this. But first, I will just welcome you officially and thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you so much. So let's start. The first question, as I said, is the same for all of our guests, for all of my guests. And this is it. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your story?
Thank you so much, Andrea, again, because that's a question I have been always asking myself a lot, especially in the last 1.5 years. Who am I, and who I would like to be, and what value would I like to leave in this world when I leave, right? So just to introduce myself, I am Sajna Samad. I'm an Oracle consultant by profession, and I'm also a JCT certified career coach by passion. So with around 12 years of experience, I have worked as consultant with various organizations like Oracle, Cisco, and Infosys. And I have been always passionate about self-development. I have continuously worked to improve myself as a person, which I would say attributes to my professional and personal success. And I'm a person who always observes. When I was working in these organizations, I always observed the success of people, and I looked at how and why people are successful, and I started researching a bit about it, and that's when I realized that it is the personality, the unique selling personality of these people that makes them successful and makes them who they are. So when it came to my coaching, when I decided to take coaching as my passion, and which is completely aligned with my purpose, I decided to look at career from a different perspective. When everybody talks about career in perspective of finding jobs and, you know, finding, basically everybody, when they talk about career coaching, it's mostly about how do you prepare your resume, how did you prepare for interview. Nobody talks about all the hard work you have to do when until you get to that point. So as a career catalyzer, I would say I work with leaders or emerging leaders to accelerate their career by helping them develop a unique selling personality and also a personal brand. That's my coaching aspect. When coming to the other things I do at work, I'm also an Oracle Women Leadership Community leader, and it's a community which works towards creating a connected, inclusive, and inspiring workspace. And I'm also a board member in MIT University. It provides a unique opportunity to share my experiences and insights with the academia and create a positive impact on UAE higher education. And when I'm not working, I think I would have been talking a lot about my professional aspect and my passion. But when I'm not working, I'm a voracious reader, a professionally trained contemporary dancer, and I absolutely love traveling, and that's something which I miss these days. That's a bit about myself.
I guess everybody misses traveling for sure. You mentioned about the career catalyzer word. For me, when I saw it on your profile, I honestly tell you, I asked myself, what is a career catalyzer specifically? How can a career catalyzer help somebody in their career?
That's a great question, Andrea. And that's something which I always get, because most of my clients ask them, how can you accelerate my career? And I would like to take it in three aspects. So I call it 3 Ps to catalyze your career. So let's take each of the P's separately, and let's just look at it a bit more in detail. So you don't have to believe me. I'll talk about some statistics. One of the recent researches by Carnegie Institute of Technology says that 85% of your financial success depends on your personality, ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead. But mostly, if you look at any person in their jobs, in their careers, they always focus on developing the technical skills and rarely focus on developing their personal skills. But when you look at what makes people successful, it's basically their personality, how much they focus on personal development, etc. So the first P, which can help you catalyze your career, is the personal development, your focus on developing you as a person. So what are the different skills we are looking at? It could be like leadership skills, emotional intelligence, mindset, extremely important skills like soft skills, communication skills. All of these skills are something which we rarely focus on as professionals, but because we don't understand the implication it has on our career success. So that's the first P. The second P, again, I'll quote something. It is the most important decisions. The most important decisions in your career are made when you're not in the room. What does that mean? You need to have the right people in the room where your career decisions are made. How would you influence that people in that room unless you have them in your network? So the second P, which is required to catalyze your career, is the network or the people in your career. It could be your managers, it could be other leaders, it could be it not always need not be anybody who is into leadership position. It could be anybody who has influence to the leaders. So the second P, which we rarely focus on during and we don't understand the impact on catalyzing our career, is the people in our network. And that's exactly why whenever I'm working with my clients, I focus on telling them that create that network. You should have I call them personal board of directors. You should have identified a set of personal board of directors who are the right kind of people who can catalyze your career, who can influence that decisions that made in that room regarding your career. So that's the second P. And the final P comes to these statistics. So 85% of the recruiters, US recruiters, say that the employee's online reputation influenced their hiring decision. And 92% of people trust recommendations from individuals over brands. What does these statistics tell us? It tells us that you as a professional need to have a personal brand to stand out in the crowd. So you go into an interview, you have the same technical skills, you have the same certifications, you have the same master degree. How can you stand out in the crowd in that interview? The only way is by creating a personal brand. And especially with all these COVID crisis happening, everything going online, unless you have a personal brand, which is on LinkedIn or any of the professional networks, you are not visible to the professional world. So focusing on your third P, which is a personal brand, has become extremely important these days. So I would say, as a career catalyzer, I help my clients in these three areas. So developing your personal skills, personal branding, and also helping them build a network.
I have so many things that pop up into my mind after this thing, and I will stick to all of these three because I find them really, really interesting. To be honest, I saw this on your profile, but it's the first time I'm hearing it explained, and it makes a lot of sense to me. So if I'm going back to the first one, that is the personal skills, and as we called it, the soft skills and everything. Yes, we are becoming more and more aware how important these are. But I was also listening to a podcast the other days, and the person was mentioning that basically the soft skills are now becoming more relational skills, also social skills, also emotional intelligence skills. So yes, they seem to be really important. And if you can, I don't know, tell me a little bit more about this. What type of personal skills the people that are coming to you want to develop, or which are the ones that you find the most relevant for a career and so on?
Yes, it always depends on generally what is your career goal. So basically, anybody who comes to me for support, I tell them, and I ask them. This is the first question: what do you want to be in your career? What is your career goal? Because all that you need to do should be aligned with that, right? So if you want to be, for example, you want to retire as a C-level executive of an organization, you need to work from today to be into that position probably 10 or 15 years later, right? So all the career decisions you make across these years should be aligned with what your career goal should be. So many a times people actually don't even have a career goal. So that's where we start working with. But once you have a career goal, once you know where you want to be, then the basic personal skills now any individual needs is, first of all, it's leadership skills. So leadership is not about the position, right? We always hear Simon Sinek say this. Leadership is not at all about the position. It is all about how you imbibe leadership in whatever you do in your day-to-day activities. You don't need to be in a leadership position to be a leader. You can take initiatives. Leadership is all about taking initiative in whatever you do, giving because now especially we are working in team environments, being a team player, motivating the team, executing things as a team, navigating the team. It can be done even if you are just a team member. So leadership skill is one of the topmost skills. Other skills like critical thinking, creativity is also vital for the success of your career. The basic skills, communication, etc., has become extremely basic. I don't even have to say this, but it's a basic skill. Communication, presentation, speaking is now expected from anybody who is going into that's the basic requirement from anybody who is going into an interview or anything, right? Especially on Zoom, how you're communicating, how you're presenting your value. It's important to stand out in that particular crowd. The other skills which I would say is negotiation skills, sales. We are constantly selling ourselves. That's exactly why I say we are our USP, we are our unique selling product or unique selling personality. Because even when you're going into interview, you are selling yourself as a professional. So negotiation skills, leadership skills, communication, and also developing your personality, which comes to emotional intelligence. And you mentioned about the relationships, right? Think about it. By 2025, it said that at least 230 plus million jobs will be automated. We both are into digital transformation, so we know the impact of it, right? People keep saying that, it's everything is getting automated. It is not fair. But unfortunately, life is not always fair, right? So how do you stand out with respect to machines? Machines cannot feel, machines cannot think for itself, or machines cannot be creative until now, unfortunately. So these are some things which we have to actually look at when, if we have to stand out in the crowd and catalyze our career.
What a beautiful answer. That's a really, really good perspective for sure. And yes, I truly agree with you on this one, because we never know what robots will do in a couple of years. But I don't think in the next year they will have the possibility to feel or to cry, or I don't know, to do something like this.
You never know.
But yeah, you never know.
You never know.
If I were to go back on the second one, that is the people. And you mentioned something really important about networking, about creating that network. I honestly tell you that I had a moment in my life when I hear this word so often, but I had no clue what to do with it because I didn't have that, I guess, professional maturity to see exactly, okay, this is what networking means, and this is what I need to do in order to create my network. So maybe you can speak a little bit more about this concept so that it brings light to the ones that it's to the ones that are listening our episode.
Sure. That will be that. Actually, that's a basic issue many of my clients are facing. As when they talk about networking, they only know about physical networking, right? Because that's what we have generally been used to. Go to networking camps, or networking meetings. We meet people, we exchange business cards, and all of that. But now it has completely changed with COVID. It has completely changed the dynamics of networking, and now it's all online. So how would I define networking? I would say networking is all about creating authentic connections. It is not just about having X number of followers, X number of connections on LinkedIn or any of the other media platforms. It is all about creating authentic connections with the person whom you are connecting with. And you cannot have these kind of connections with everybody in your network, right? Because if you want to really create a relationship with a person, it requires time, right? It requires effort from your side. So how would you define or how would you identify with whom I should connect? So I generally say that in your network, you have to have 4 different kind of people. The first kind of people, which we all know, is mentors, right? If you want to be great in a particular area, so if you have a goal, and if you want to excel in your personality, if you want to excel in your leadership skills, or any of those aspects, whatever you want to improve on, you always need a mentor who can help you with that. The mentor can be somebody from within your organization. Many organizations have mentorship programs. If you're able to find somebody from within your organization, good. Great. Sometimes you might be looking at skills different from what you want within your organization. In that case, look out to your social network, connect with people. And what I've realized, especially on LinkedIn, being a very professional network, when you reach out to people authentically, not just, there are so many people who reach out to me just by from a selling point of view, like I want to sell a product. I generally don't respond to them. But if somebody generally reach out to me telling me with genuine interest, how would we show genuine interest? When you reach out to a person who is a stranger, if you're sending a connection request on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a professional network, I'm just referring to it. When you're sending a connection request on LinkedIn, go through their profile. Is there anything which you resonate with? is, for example, if they did a post which you felt add value to you, mention that post in the connection request, because you can always have messages in the connection request, right? Mention that I really enjoyed reading this post and it added value to my to the X situation. I would really like to connect with you. When somebody sends your request like that, when they show genuine interest in you, you generally don't reject those requests, or you generally don't ignore that request, because that shows that that person have taken some genuine interest in what you are doing, and you are adding value to them, because LinkedIn is more like a network where you are looking to add value to people and also get value from people. So from a social networking point of view, because it's a professional conversation, I would mention LinkedIn, but any social media page, when you're sending a request, always have a personalized message. That is one way you can authentically connect. After that, if you want to keep connecting with that person, you can ask them questions, you can be curious, you can be professional in a way. There are lots of people who connect with me to ask about my certification. When they're curious and they ask me for support, I do help them. So it is always important that you show genuine interest. And if somebody is helping you, if somebody is supporting you, if somebody is responding to you, respect them for their time and give back them your time as well. So the first one was mentoring. Find a mentor, that's very important, or a master teacher, a person who can teach you things. A second person you need to have in your network is a sponsor. That sponsor is somebody who has influence, who has credibility, who can influence decisions in your career. You know that this person have influence on your career. It could be within your organization or outside your organization. The third kind of person you need within your network is a conflicting collaborator. A conflicting collaborator is a person who have similar skills like you, but that person is able to challenge you, inspire you to do things. Because when you see that person do something different in your area, you are inspired to do like them, and they open different areas, different arenas in the area you're looking at. And the final person I would say you need to have in your network is a modern muse, is a person who supports you, who motivates you, who keeps you, whenever you're going down, whenever you're depressed, you're feeling that, okay, I'm not good enough, all of those syndromes come up. This person is the one who will keep you up and positive and motivated. So these are the four kind of people I would say you have to have in your network. And when you network, connect authentically and create relationships.
Who is your modern muse?
Oh, so many people actually. When you are asking, I'm thinking like, I have, and that's what we were discussing earlier, right? I have been abundantly gifted. I would say in different areas of my life of different people. So within my coaching area, one person who have always inspired me is Morris. You know him.
Yes.
He has always inspired me. He always keeps motivating me. He gives me very beautiful ideas. So Morris is definitely one of the modern muses. From my career point of view, it's my manager, Tamer. He is, wow, he's amazing. He's my mentor as well. So yeah, these are the two people whom I can think of now, but there are many others as well.
Yes, and I guess not by chance I reached out this topic, because yes, we spoke at the beginning before hitting the record button about the fact that yes, we were both blessed with so many great people in our lives, and you have the same big mission and vision. No, let's say it more. It's a vision that what am I doing with my life? What can I give, and what can I give back to this world? So I guess this is amazing, and the more we are with this vision, I guess the more beautiful the world would be. So we were also talking about the fact that you attract what you give out, and that really resonated with this one. And I guess that's why you were blessed as well, with so many great people in your life. Because yes, I don't know you for a long time, but for sure there's a connection between us, and I feel like I know you for ages. For sure,
Same
you
here. Yeah, same here. Like now, after I talk to you, I feel like I should look out for you, and I should see what you're doing. I'm sure that you're going to be in that news list for sure, because, and probably I am also in your news list. I think probably you might be also a conflicting collaborator for me, because you will inspire me to do things which I have not done so far, which is podcast. I haven't done it so far. You're inspiring me to do it. So I think, yeah, the more I get to know you, I definitely would love to have you and be connected with you more.
And this is exactly, if I'm getting back to that authenticity, and what I wrote here on my page was profound relationships.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, because we are rushing all the time, we have this tendency of finalizing stuff. We don't give ourselves time to create profound relationships with the ones around us. And those 412, how many people were? Four. I wrote them on the page. I honestly tell you, these people, that this type of people, yes, we definitely need in our lives. And not only to catalyze our career, but I would say to catalyze our personal life as well. It can be an inspiration. So yeah.
Definitely. One more thing which I would add to this particular this point of discussion is that always have a network map, and keep a kind of a tab on how you are connecting with the people whom you really want to connect with. Probably it is just saying, wishing them a hello a day, or it could be wishing them happy birthday, or congratulating them when they are having their promotions. Sometimes that's all it takes to keep that connection alive. It doesn't take a lot of effort to do it, as long as you are doing it from that point of authenticity, and from that point of for you to keep that connection. So it's not that difficult, but keeping a tab of these things and keeping your network map alive would definitely help you do that.
After our podcast, I will I'll give myself a moment, and I will see exactly, just write on paper who these people are, because I might be aware of them, but I might not be so aware as I needed. If I were to go back on those 3 Ps, and the third one, the personal brand, how can you stand out in the crowd? And you said exactly so many things that are really relevant nowadays. How can you stand out when there are a lot of people that are having the same experience as you have, or they are doing the same thing as you do? Talk to me a little bit about this personal brand, because I'm genuinely interested on a personal level, but for sure our listeners will be as well. Because yes, I guess it's really important to build and have a strong personal brand nowadays.
Great. That's a great question, Andrea, because let me just reiterate that statistics which I mentioned earlier. 85% of the US recruiters say that an employee's online reputation influences their hiring decision. So what does that mean? It means that how you portray on these professional platforms, especially on LinkedIn, actually influences the decision of the recruiter. So if you would see these days, LinkedIn is one of the major portals from where you get hired, right? The recruiters are on LinkedIn. All those multinational companies are on LinkedIn. So how do you portray yourself on LinkedIn? That's an important question you have to ask yourself. Or how would you like them to perceive you on LinkedIn? So I would first say, for example, if you are somebody who is an expert in a particular area, you can look at how you can portray that expertise on LinkedIn. It could be by sharing articles, it could be by sharing information with your network. It is all about adding value to your network, what kind of value you can provide to your network. So you can ask a few questions to yourself to understand how you can portray. First of all, think from a recruiter's perspective, or think from your network point of view. What would they be expecting out of you? You are an expert. For example, I'm an expert in supply chain. So my network are also supply chain related, or digital transformation related, or technology related network. Right now, because I'm into coaching, I also have a similar kind of a network as well. But mostly I share a combination of both, because I'm into consulting and I'm also into coaching. So I share information in a 50-50%. of some information related to the digital transformation, supply chain. It could be any articles, it could be my own perspectives of a situation, or it could be any kind of information I know about these areas. So your your network should start perceiving you as an expert in a particular area. That is one thing you can look at. Second one is all about thought leadership. That is mostly not only just for executives, also for normal employees, but it is more relevant for executives. So I have a client who is a VP, and his career goal is to become a CIO in next 5 years. So you might think he is going to be a C-level executive, or he wants to be a C-level executive. Will recruiters even look at LinkedIn? This might be something which you might be thinking, but the reason he came to me as a client is because he noticed what I'm doing on LinkedIn, and he said that I want to do this because my interviewing panel is actually asking me for it. So I was very surprised. I didn't know that, as even when they're hiring C-level executives, they're looking at their LinkedIn profile to see what you are doing, how you are giving value to your network. Are you interacting with your network? Are you perceived as an expert by your network? These days, even for C-levels, it's important. And when I'm talking about a C-level, he's a VP in one of the largest MNCs. So when you're talking about C-levels, he might be looking at the similar MNCs, right? So that's the kind of expectation from recruiters. So if you want to stand out in the crowd, start projecting yourself as the expert who you are. Many a times what my clients struggle with is thinking that I'm not an expert in a particular area. Generally, it's not true. There might be something which you know that others don't. Just share that. That's more than enough. There might be at least a percentage of your network who doesn't know what you know. So creating that perception or projecting who the way you want others to perceive you is what personal brand is all about. And I would like to define personal brand, or I would say Jeff Bezos defines it better than anybody else. He says that personal brand is what other people says about you when you are not in the room. So it's not only a social brand, it's not only on LinkedIn, it is also within your organization where you work with, or within the team you're working with. Try and understand what other people speak about you, what other people think about you. Do they think that you're an expert in a particular area, or do they think that you are good in leadership skills? Try to understand what are your strengths, and then start providing value in those areas.
Yep, indeed. So, but you need to have, I guess, you need to know yourself really, really well to see exactly how you can build that personal brand, that that value that exactly you can add to others. So
personal branding is a very in-depth topic. Actually, it has different steps you have to go through so that you can finally understand what you can project yourself out as. So it's a topic for a different podcast altogether, because it's too in-depth.
Just tell me which is the most important step, or which is the one that you think it's most important in
I would say the most important one is one which you mentioned first, like the self-awareness part, being aware of what you are good at. Because if you're not aware of what you are good at, you cannot, project yourself in that area, right? That's one aspect. But many a times what people struggle with is not just about knowing what they're good at, but they are scared how they will be perceived if they start sharing information in that area. That fear of being judged is something many people struggle with, especially some of my clients struggle with. They know they are expert in a particular area, they are thought leaders in a particular area, but generally they struggle thinking that they overthink, what will my network think if I post this? For some people, just posting something on LinkedIn is such a difficult task because they overthink. So these are the two areas which, so taking action and being self-aware about your capabilities are the two key areas.
Yes, I recognize myself into this into this part, that sometimes we have the tendency of thinking, of what other think, but I guess on me was to make sure that I really add value. It was not necessarily okay what others think about what I'm saying or what I'm posting, but just to make sure that yes, I can bring something to those people that are following me or that are reading my articles or my posts. So yeah, the pressure sometimes might be quite high that we put on ourselves.
Yes.
But
Yes, recently I will share one of the posts I shared recently on Instagram. It was all about what you think other people think of yourself is much higher than what actually other people think of you. Others don't have so much time to judge you. But as long as you provide value, people start recognizing you, and it might take time. It might not happen in one post or two posts or one activity. If you're doing it physically, it doesn't happen within one interaction or two interactions. It might take a few interactions, but you need to be persistent and consistent and patient with your network.
yes, and I guess this is exactly being patient. Also, it's really connected to the career itself, because, for example,
Exactly.
if you are right now just a beginner in your career and you want to reach C-level at a certain point in time, you definitely need to be patient about the process and about the expertise that you're going to have and so on. So yeah,
True.
this is a quality maybe that it's really important when building your career, and not only, I guess. I would like to get back a little bit to your path, the career catalyzer. And I was wondering what mattered to you the most when pursuing this path.
For me, it was all about aligning with my purpose, because whenever these days, whenever I do things, I always think whether it is aligned with my purpose. My purpose is all about giving back to the community. And this is what we have been discussing even before we started recording, right? We are all, we both are abundantly gifted in many ways, and I always had this urge to give back to my community. I felt obligated, I felt it's my responsibility to give back to my community. And then I started thinking, how can I give back to my community? So that's my purpose, giving back to my community, touching lives, at least one life, changing at least one life, or able to touch at least one life. That is one of the most beautiful things I can do in my life. So when I was thinking about how I can actually you know bring my purpose into life, I was looking at, again, what am I an expert in, what is that I'm good at, what can I add value to the community. And that's when I realized that I have this amazing experience in different organizations. I also have read a lot of self-help books. I have lots of information in terms of how you have to develop in these specific areas, the 3 Ps which we were discussing about. Why don't I focus on those areas? So it's totally aligned with my purpose. So that's what matters the most for me. Even if it's not coaching, coaching is just a channel by which I give back to my community. There are different ways I do it, but coaching is now one of the key channels I do it. But the other ways I do it is by, for example, working with our Oracle Women Leadership is a voluntary activity. I'm part of Green Team in Oracle. That is also a way of giving back to my community. I'm also part of the MIT board, which is also a way of giving back to the student community. So it's all what I do these days is aligned with my purpose.
You said a beautiful statement about touching lives. Which was the most impactful, let's say, thing that somebody gave you feedback about? Something that they changed on them or something similar? Do you know?
Yes. Oh, Andrea, thank you so much for asking this question. Actually, I have been doing this activity. We were talking about patience, right? We were always talking. We were talking all this while about patience, being consistent and persistent. So for the past 1.5 to 2 years, probably, I've been doing a lot of work on LinkedIn and Instagram by sharing all the knowledge I have, all the information I have, and that's exactly how I met you as well. So very rarely, actually, people interact or comment or give inputs to me right on those posts which I do on LinkedIn. But I never stopped doing it because I thought that it might be impacting somebody, because it was something which I love doing, so I kept on doing it irrespective of how my network was taking it. I used to get really good feedbacks on some of my posts. Some of my posts would just be liked by people, but I never realized the impact it was invisibly creating, which was invisible for me, the impact which was invisible for me. And I only got to know about it when recently one of my colleague, I met him, I met this person in IKEA with his family. He is a colleague from Oracle, and he did not introduce me as a colleague from Oracle. He introduced me to his family, saying that, this lady, this person has inspired me a lot on LinkedIn. She has been posting amazing content all this while, and I absolutely love what she's doing. He has never told me otherwise, but this is the way he introduced me to his family. And I was like, wow, he knows that I am from applications team, I'm doing this in Oracle, but that's not how he introduced me to his family. He introduced me as like somebody who inspires him to do things. So that's when I realized many of the things we do does have an invisible impact. Not always everybody speaks about it. And later, 2 days later, he messaged me on LinkedIn saying that, Sajna, this is how you have impacted me. I have never said this before, but I thought after meeting you, I should definitely say this to you. And recently also, I had another one of my network, a person who is completely a stranger. She got back to me saying that because there was one of these LinkedIn lives which she heard, which was last week, and she came back to me saying that, Sajna, you were somebody who have inspired me to be on LinkedIn, and I have been on LinkedIn from the time I have listened to you. So thank you so much for doing that. So sometimes the impact we create might be invisible to us, but trust me and believe me, from my experience, we definitely touch lives even without knowing. And I think that's beautiful.
Hmm. Yes, I had goosebumps while you were talking about it. And yes, because sometimes people maybe don't have the courage, or they don't feel comfortable getting in touch with the people that inspire them. But yeah, I also feel it. I feel it deep inside that yes, we definitely make a difference. So yes. And I remember something. Yes, I guess this is a shout out also for Maurice. I will share
Yes.
with him the podcast after this and tell him that we spoke about him. Because yeah, he was one of the people in my career as well that inspired me. And I remember that before leaving Oracle, he asked me, when are you going um, to open that business that you want and to be on your own and everything? And my answer was this year. And I had no clue that when I answered this to him, this will definitely come true. So yeah, that's why it's really important. People touch lives, and I guess I need to get back to him to give him this feedback. But yeah,
Yes,
people touch lives.
yeah, that's something which these days I voluntarily do, because if somebody have created an impact in my life, I make it a point to tell them. I make it a point to let them know that, okay, you have created. It might be just a simple message they shared, or it could be something, something just they just share. It might be something extremely personal to them, but they share it on the network, and I was inspired by it, or it touched me. I just generally message them and say that, I'm thank you so much for doing that, because that made me feel great today. I was not feeling that amazing, and this post made my day. So nowadays I make it a point, because I understand how much difference it makes for other people. And when you do that, you're again creating authentic connections.
Yes, and what came to my mind is this thing about community, that
Yeah.
when being in a community, it's a lot easier for you to learn from the others' experience and to take things from the others that are worth taken. And you said a really important topic. Yes, I guess we should definitely encourage ourselves and the ones around us when yeah, somebody made a difference for you, just let them know, because this might be really impactful for them.
Yes,
So
that'll inspire them to do more of it, right? So let's just keep applauding each other and supporting each other. It's a beautiful thing to do.
Yep. I'd like to go back a little bit to the career thing, and because sometimes people have a job, but not all the time they are fully into that job, meaning that they don't find 100% purpose in the job that they're doing. So my question would be, what happens if people don't like the job they're doing, and is there anything that they can put into practice to make sure that they are comfortable in the job that they are doing?
Yes, I would say the first thing you have to do is reflect. Understand why the job you are doing now is not the happy place you want to be. It could be because of multiple reasons. It could be because it's not aligned with your purpose. It might be because your values might not align with the values of the team or the organization you're working with. So most of the times it's the values that clash. You might need a work-life balance. The organization doesn't promote it, or you might not have a good manager, or it might be because the team members are not collaborative. So try and reflect to understand what you don't like about the job. That's the first thing you can do. And if you if this is not your first job, if you have had multiple jobs, if you loved a job before, try and reflect on it. What is the reason you loved that? What is the difference from these two different situations? Because when you start reflecting, you are now able to understand what is the root cause. Is it because it's not aligned with your purpose? Is it because it's not aligned with your values? Is it because of your management? Is it because of your team? Is it because of you? Is it something you can do about it? Also look at what is your motivation to be in a particular job. So all of these things, and your priority, what is your priority? And most importantly, again, I'm coming back to the same point. What is your career goal? Is this job important for you to achieve that career goal? Is it vital for it? So I would say the first step we have to do, and we rarely do, is reflect on the jobs we have. We might just say, oh, I don't like my job. Oh my God, my manager is that, my leader, my team is like this. But is there something you are contributing to that situation? And if you can compare situations, that's a great thing to do. If it's difficult for you to do it alone, find a coach or talk to your mentor who knows about the situation. They might be able to give you different perspectives. Probably your perspective might not be right. So reflect on it, understand your motivations, see if it aligns with your career goal. And once you have that information, now you are ready to take action, right? Now you know that, okay, there is something which you can do. Probably you think that your team is not collaborative. Can you start being collaborative with the team members so that they are motivated to do it? Or when you feel that your manager is not very supportive, is there something you can probably you can talk to them and see what can be done differently? Or if it's not an environment which is right for you, if it doesn't align with your values, if it doesn't align with your purpose, then you might have to leave and find a job. And this time, when you're looking out for jobs, you are having the right information to ensure that the job you're going to take next time is the right one, right? Because now you know what was wrong in the previous one. So these are some things which you can do: reflect, understand your motivations, see if it aligns with your career goal. And once you have that information, plan for your transition, or plan to what to do, and execute your plan as well.
And
This
there's
is basically.
another, yeah, there's another thing that I would add to this. Maybe ask ourselves what this job is giving me. Because most of the time, if we don't like a job, we ask ourselves what this job is taking from me.
True, true.
So so yeah, it also depends on the way on the way you see it. And there's another important question that I use in my personal life, and I guess it can also be applied in professional. What are you as a person doing that makes you be in the same point over and over again? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Because I believe that if we start focusing on things which we can control, slowly the things which we can't control also come into our space. So mostly what happens is that we start blaming others. We generally don't take responsibility of what's happening within our lives. And that's exactly why the reflection exercise is very important. And as you mentioned, Andrea, asking, what are you benefiting out of this job? There might be so many positive aspects, not rather than just looking at the negative aspects. And that will help you stay motivated in this job if you can't look for a transition as of now. So I totally agree with you, Andrea.
And you touched up a really, really important topic, the one of reflection, because we sometimes don't give ourselves enough time to reflect on the things that happen to us and see exactly, okay, which are the things that I can change, which are the things that I can control, what can I pick differently. So
Exactly.
yeah, this is definitely important in your career, because otherwise you will have the impression that it doesn't matter what job you're going to do, there will be none that you will love. So yeah.
Yes. Actually, I was recently reading a book called Catalyst, which is a book by a person called Chandra Mauli. He's an Indian. So, in that book, he mentions about reflection. He mentions that the only way you can convert your experience into a learning is by reflecting. He introduced a very interesting concept. He says that your experience is not equal to the number of years you spent working. It is not equal to the number of years you spend working. It is equal to the learning you have within your role. So he says that one of the ways you can catalyze your career is by converting your experience into learning, and the one way you can do it is by reflecting
The learning that you had in your role, because most of the time, I guess every one of us had this at the beginning of their careers, because you ask for somebody to have relevant experience when wanting to hire them, but you only take how many years that person was in a job, and maybe you don't look at it from this perspective, what that person learned in the job. Maybe that person is capable of learning a lot of things in, I don't know, in half a year, comparing with what others do in 2 years, 3 years, or so on.
Yes, he also mentions about this actually. When you're asking for experience, you are actually judging a person based on their past. You're not judging based on what they could do in the future, but you are actually hiring them for the future things they will do, right? So that's exactly why he was saying that it's important you have to look at the growth curve of the person. If there is a recruiter who is listening to us on this podcast, always look at their growth curve, how they have grown within those years, rather than just the number of years. The number of years is just a number. So it doesn't mean that they have actually converted their time into an experience unless they have actually had a learning from all the challenges they have had, all the projects they have done, all the problems they have had. So that is what actually experience is all about.
That's a really nice view. Yes, and I hope recruiters are listening to our podcast, because I also had this conversation with one of in a previous podcast, that sometimes the pressure when being at the beginning of your career is so high
Yeah.
that we definitely need to change a little bit the way we see this and the way we recruit the people that are at the beginning, maybe, and not only. So yeah, this is a really nice view, and
Yes,
thanks for
that's
sharing
what
it.
I also tell my clients who are saying that they are freshers or they only have 1 or 2 years of experience. How would I project myself better? Tell them, project in the terms of growth you have had, because that is the only way you're going to differentiate yourself. If there is a person with 4 years experience with lesser growth than you can show them, I have had these certifications, I've had these learnings, I have developed myself in this personal area. These are the things you should focus on your resume, or when you're having the discussion in the interviewer. If you cannot compete in the number of years, still go ahead and apply, but convince them that you have had the growth in those for those specific number of years. And that's exactly why I'm saying that it is, you should definitely be aware of what you want to be in your career. Because if you are new to your career and you're listening to this podcast, it's great, because first of all, define your career goal. What do you want to do? Because from today you can start acting, you can start taking decisions based on your career goal, so that you will not have to switch careers in the middle of everything, right? So I would definitely ask you to start from scratch and look at your career goal, understand what you have to do, and look at plan for it. have a proper plan for your career.
Yeah, great piece of advice. I noticed that there are more and more people that want to have their own business and the career guided by the entrepreneurship approach. What do you think about this? How do you see it? What did you notice in your interactions?
Yes, that's a pretty interesting question, Andrea, because recently I have been introduced to a term called gig economy. So you would know gigs, right? The musicians do gigs. They do one-off projects. They go for these musical concerts or gigs. They get paid for that gigs and all of that. So there is a new kind of economy with Uber, with Airbnb, gig economy. It's called gig economy. It is like instead of a regular wage, workers get paid for the gigs they do. It could be food delivery, car journey, or now even coaching can be a gig. You're doing something else 9 to 5. So it's not anymore full-time and part-time. It is also full-time, part-time, and gigs you do. So they were saying that approximately around 150 million workers in North America and Western Europe is part of this gig economy, which is flourishing now. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, or if you thrive to do something of your own, it is not always necessary that you start a startup, because it has a lot of implication. If you want to do it, great, go ahead. If you have the financial backup, if you can find the investors, if you have a great idea, it's an amazing thing to do. But if you can't do it, but still you want to get a gist of it, you want to keep yourself motivated in your full-time work or part-time work with something which that inspires you, look at the gig economy. Look at how you can do small term projects which will keep you which will give you the additional monetary benefits, as well as which will help you do something aligned with your purpose. So that's one thing I would say for to those who would like to do something along with their career. There is another aspect which many employees can look at. It is called entrepreneurship. Research shows that around 80% of the employees say that they have ideas that could improve business in organizations. That which means that you as an employee has an ability to make a difference in the business. So if you look at some what would I say, amazing things which we have in our world right now, for example, the Apple Macintosh, the post-it notes. Google also uses a technique which the company introduced called innovation time off, where the engineers are encouraged to spend some 20% of their working hours on projects that interest them. So you can work as an entrepreneur within the organization you are part of. So you always don't need to be a completely again go into complete entrepreneurship. You can be an entrepreneur within the organization you are. And also Deloitte have recently funded, I think they have invested around 25 million pounds to encourage entrepreneurs within their workforce, because now organizations are seeing like, okay, this is the impact of having entrepreneurs within their organizations. They are coming up with innovations, and they know better about the company, right? So they know what is the culture of the company, what are the direction of the company, and they have better ideas than anybody coming from outside. So if you look at Google's products like Gmail, Google AdSense, etc., are these innovation time of projects. So those are the biggest hit projects or hit products of Google, right? So that is something which you can definitely look at as an employee. Look at entrepreneurship, see if you can own some project within the organization. And if this story will motivate you, let me tell you this story. The PlayStation creator was a Nintendo employee initially. He created PlayStation, and then he took it to the management, and then they decided to create PlayStation as a game. And now he has become the CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment. He's also known as the father of PlayStation. So it means that organizations are actually supporting employees who have interesting ideas. So look at entrepreneurship if you are not ready for entrepreneurship, and probably entrepreneurship can help you be an entrepreneur later as well. So these are some of the ways you can look at entrepreneurship in a different perspective.
I had this entrepreneurship mindset in the job that I'm doing, but from a different perspective, because I had this in mind. If I'm having an entrepreneurship mindset in my day-to-day job, this means I will care about the people that I'm working with as if they were my customers. And when you are building a business, you definitely care about the people that are coming to you. You get to know their needs. You are in touch with them all the time, because building your business basically means this, to make sure that you are constantly in contact with them and care about what they need. So, but yeah, this is a different view of the entrepreneurship mindset.
Totally. I totally agree with you on that, Andrea.
Do you consider yourself a successful person?
I would say success always depends on how each person defines it. Recently, we were having this discussion on Clubhouse, and there was one person who is a business coach, and he's also the managing director of his company. So he was saying that success is different for different people. For some people, it's all about the financial success they have. For some others, it's all about if they are able to do something aligned with their purpose, aligned with their goals and motivations. That is what defines success for them. So for me, it is all about doing things which is aligned with my purpose. As long as I'm doing things which I love, I would say I'm successful, because that makes me happy. That makes me feel at peace. That keeps me sane, and as long as I am adding value to my network, I would say I'm successful. I would also say I'm successful if I'm growing and improving myself as a person and as a professional, and when I'm contributing for the greater good. And that's why I'm always involved in these activities, not just within work, the Oracle Women Leadership Green Team activities which I was mentioning about, but also I work with my network. I help support the network in whichever way I can, the value I provide. So all of this actually helps me create an authentic connection with my network, gives me the exposure which is required, but most importantly, it helps me contribute and add value to the community. So I would say yes, I'm successful in my own sense. Yes.
I'm sure you are. I see you are. So, because the question when I asked this question, because I was thinking exactly this: with what is your view about being successful and how a successful career is defined by you. So you just answered this question. So this is what I had in mind when I asked it. As you were previously saying about the community you are involved into, and great job on doing this, because we need more people that are doing this, to be honest. And I was thinking, how useful is this for somebody's career?
Oh my God, I can't emphasize enough. I don't know how much I can emphasize on this. If you look at your LinkedIn profile, you have an area called volunteering activities on your profile as well. That's how important volunteering or community projects is for the professional community, actually. So I was discussing about this VP who is my client, right? One of the two things he came for was, one, about the personal branding. The second thing, he was like, the interviewing committee was asking me, why are you not involved in any community projects? They were looking at the LinkedIn profile and they were asking, you don't have any volunteering activities you do on LinkedIn or on your resume. Why are you not giving back to your community? Think, this is the kind of questions a C-level executive gets, or somebody who is going to be interviewed for a C-level executive gets. So that's how important being involved in community projects is. That is from a professional point of view or a career point of view. But from a personal perspective, think how it'll make you feel when you give back to your community. Gently, they always say, for improving your mental health, it is important that you give more than you take. And that's exactly where, again, community projects come, right? So it has two aspects: the career point of view, which, like, it can help you accelerate your career in different aspects. So when from my personal example, I started working with Oracle Women Leadership 3 years back when I joined Oracle. I was working with the intention of being a team member, but after 2 years, I became the lead in for Oracle Women Leadership in UAE. Now I am heading these projects. The kind of exposure I get from Oracle, be it being on their pages, being publicized by Oracle. I was recently featured in one of the articles in ITP.net, which is a media partner of Oracle here in the region. These opportunities came to me because of the community work I'm doing, not because that gave me an exposure. So sometimes you do things without anything in expectation, and that's what we were discussing earlier, right? When you give in the right sense, things comes back to you in unimaginable ways. And that's exactly what my experience have been. Because when I joined OWL, I never thought I would be the OWL lead. I never thought that this is what it's going to be, but that's what it's been. So these community projects have a great impact on your career, on your mental health, on the exposure you will get, the kind of people you will meet, then the networking opportunities you will have. So from all of those aspects, community projects are extremely important for career catalyzing your career.
I guess this is a question that everybody will have while listening to you speaking. When do you have time to do all this? Do you still sleep? Do you still eat?
Of course, for me, oh my God, okay. This part is very important. For me, sleeping is extremely important. I'm a person who will hit the bed by 10, maximum 10:30. So I'm not a party person. I would say it's all about your priorities. When you love doing something, you just keep doing it. First, second, we think that we have to invest so much time on such things. But if you ask me, when you invest your time correctly, the results are amazing. The results are mind-blowing. We have to prioritize what we need and what is important for us from different aspects. It could be from the alignment with the purpose. It could be from spending time with your family, spending time for your work, at the same time giving back to the community. So when you know your priorities, it is easier for you to say no to things which doesn't matter to you, and that gives you a lot of time.
And you touched a really important aspect of saying no. Because I'm not sure if this is with you, but with me for sure. When you are that type of person that wants to give more than you receive, you have that thing of, okay, I want to do so many things that I hardly say no to people. So, but at the end of the day, in relation to priority, I guess this is really important. And you mentioned something important on this one as well. Yes, priority based on what? On your goals, on your family, or your career and everything. So
yeah, so that's why clarity, we were mentioning all about self-awareness before, we were mentioning about clarity before. Clarity is extremely important because that helps you to declutter your life. There were so many things in my life which was taking my time, which I was not enjoying. There might be different kinds of people who is eating up your time. There might be tasks which are not contributing to what you're doing. You are now able to prioritize and balance your life. And because I have been a big advocate of work-life balance, I always think that, or I always make it a point to make sure that my weekends, I have enough time to spend with my family. I cook at home. I don't have a maid at home. I cook at home. So I do all of that. But I also believe that you have to give priority to your career, to your community work and everything. So when your priorities are set, you can actually have that discussion with the right people. When you are going to do something, how do you balance your personal life? When your husband knows, if your kids knows, okay, this is your time, they will respect you for that. And when you start saying no to things which doesn't actually align with what you want to do, people will start respecting you, and you will have the time you need to do the things which you love.
And now I remember something, I guess it was in the discussion we had on the Clubhouse, that as important as it is to fill your cup, is as equally important to empty your cup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I actually love that phrase. Like, emptying your cup is so super important, because that gives you space for the things that matter in your life.
Let's imagine ourselves into the future for a bit. And uh, how do you think will careers evolve? What will matter the most?
I think to some extent we touched based on it in our previous discussion. So we said that as per the McKinsey report, there were at least 230 plus million jobs are at stake because of automation. A recent study by World Economic Forum says that by 2025, at least 50% of the employee workforce will require reskilling. That means the skills we have now will be obsolete. And they also ran a survey to understand what would be the top skills, and they are not technical skills anymore. They were the analytical skills, the critical thinking, the leadership skills, the communication skills, all those personal skills. The first 8 or 7 skills were all relationship oriented skills: communication, leadership, analytical thinking kind of skills. And about was only the 8th or 9th on that list was technical skills. And if you look at it, it's very easy to understand, because technology keeps changing, technology keeps evolving. We focus so much on developing our technical skills, which will be obsolete in the next few years, but we invest so less on those skills which actually matters and will keep us in our jobs, which are those skill sets which we were discussing earlier, like the personal skills. And that is another reason for you to focus on the personal skills. So this is how careers will evolve. You will have new careers coming in. And for example, data scientist was not a career when I passed out from college, like 10 years back. Now it's one of the topmost careers. Machine learning programmers, artificial intelligence programmers, they were not a role at all in organizations before. So look at how the job market is evolving and start focusing on your personal skills, because they never get out of fashion. Your personal skills is what going to make you stand out in the crowd. Technical skills you will have to brush up every few years. You have no other choice, because technology keeps changing.
And at the end of the day, they make you who you are, who you truly are.
Exactly. That comes to self-awareness, the clarity part. It makes you understand what you really need in your life and in your career, which is critical.
Do you think there are still people that don't pursue their dream career?
Yes. Yes, I think there are lots of people who don't pursue their dream career, because I think what I've noticed, a pattern which I've noticed even within myself, sometimes I notice it, is that it is not the fear of failure that stops you, it is the fear of success. The responsibility that comes from the success you might have by pursuing your dream career. Um, that was one of the things which I had to actually overcome to start doing things which I'm doing now, because I was scared, like, will I be able to manage my family, my work with what I'm doing right now? I never thought that I would be able to do it. And that comes back to your question about time, right? How do I get so much time? Because I make time for it, but I never knew that I could do it until I did that. So many people stop themselves from pursuing their dream career, not because they can't actually pursue it, because they are fear of the responsibility that could come with the success, or that could come with pursuing their dream career. And they are like, oh, will I be able to actually do that? So that's one thing which I have noticed. Another thing which I've noticed is the reluctance to move out of your comfort zone. Again, I was also in that part around a year and a half back. It was difficult for me. I'm not a very camera friendly person. It's extremely difficult for me to actually stand in front of a camera and speak. Even clicking pictures, I hate clicking my pictures. But now I do a lot of videos. I have come out of my comfort zone, and that have helped me reach my audience better. Sometimes it's critical that you move out of your comfort zone to pursue that dream career. Generally, people find it difficult to do it. And that's exactly where, again, a coach comes in, or a mentor comes in, who can help you, who can motivate you, who can inspire you to do those things. And the final thing which I've noticed is that, not being aware, or sometimes you're not aware what you're good at. The self-awareness again, sometimes you are extremely good at some things. For example, my manager keeps telling me that you are really good at leadership skills. I never knew it until he told me. Probably sometimes you need somebody else to open up and show what is capable by you, and sometimes you need that guidance. And if people are open to do these things, like to take responsibility of their success, they're able to move out of their comfort zone and are ready to get guidance from the right people, I think most of us can pursue our dream career.
Yes, and that's why I can't tell enough reasons why it's so important to have somebody near you that encourages you, that shows you the path in a way, or that inspires you, that it's along with you in the goals that you are trying to do, so that you make sure that you don't lose yourself down the
Exactly.
road.
Because you will always have lots of people to say that, oh, why are you leaving this job and doing something like this? Are you sorry for the language. Are you stupid? Why are you leaving an Oracle job or MNC job and going into an entrepreneurship of your own? Why are you doing it? There are lots of people who are there to demotivate you and pull you down. Their intentions might be right, but unfortunately, that doesn't support you. So finding that person who can support you, inspire you, and guide you in that process is critical.
There's also, in connection to the patients that we spoke before, that yes, sometimes taking another step and getting out of your comfort zone, it takes time for you to get used to that new thing that you are doing. So I guess, yes, patience, it's also important, equally important.
Exactly. And you need in such phases, because that's a transition phase for you, right? Especially when you're pursuing your dream career, it might be a complete transition for you sometimes. And that is a time you really need people who encourages you and supports you. And that's why creating a network is also vital, because that network is uh, uh, will be those people who are going to support you in that process.
And there's another thing that I will add in here, or at least that I find myself into this. You need to have the courage to ask for help, or to ask for an advice, because most of the time, or at least this might be a cultural thing, we have the tendency to prove that we can do things on our own, or at least this is how I was raised. So just to be independent and to make sure that I can do stuff on my own. But sometimes it's not about this. Just to find those people and to have the courage to ask for advice or for help for anything you might need.
You are spot on, Andrea, because oh, like it is true that which we I think it's not just from your culture, from most of the cultures, or it's mostly our ego. I wouldn't blame it on culture. I would say it's our ego that stops us from asking for help. When you are able to make peace with your ego, and you're going to say that it is much more easier to ask for help from people rather than taking a longer time and finding things on my own. If you have time, go ahead, do it. Why not? But if somebody else can make that path easier for you, why do you have to struggle? That's another way you catalyze your journey, right? You cannot always do everything alone. That's another aspect, that you might need support, you will need help. um, no person no person have actually achieved anything in this world alone. How much they say they are self-made, I wouldn't believe that, because there are at least one or two people in their lives who have actually contributed to that journey.
And there's a thing that stick with me. We sometimes have the tendency to believe that, okay, you need to be alone in order to figure out exactly who you truly are. But no, you don't live alone. You are in a society, and you need to be in relationships to figure out exactly who you truly are. Because when you are alone, okay, you know your thing, let's say so. But being with others, you never know how you're going to react in their situation. And that's the moment when, yes, this is how I truly am. And this is where my ego comes out. Or So
Yes, because you need to understand other people's perspective about you as well, because that gives you a different lens to look at yourself, right? Because every time you are only seeing from your point of view, you're seeing yourself from your point of view. So this is one of the exercises I ask my clients to do. I ask them, especially those who are in low in confidence, they say, I'm not good at anything. We try and sit and figure out things which they are good at, but they're not able to come up with it. I tell them, go and ask, pick 3 people from your network, go and ask them, what are the things they think are your strengths, what are the things they think that you can improve. 3 or 4 people, pick them, ask them these questions and come back to me. And when they come back to me, they are like, they are mind blown. They're like, I never thought that I could do this. I never knew that I had this capability, but they think that I have. And if you see a pattern in the responses from these different people, now you know that this is true, right? So that's basically extremely critical for your success at understanding the perspective of other people.
and yeah, you were saying what you were talking previously, what I also wanted to add, that yes, if there's somebody there that knows a shortcut that can help you reach a certain destination faster than you are doing it on yourself, why not trying? Be it a mentor, be a coach, or somebody else that has experience or can guide you. We are reaching the end of the episode, but before asking the final question, that as well is the same for all of our guests, is there anything that you'd like to add? Is there something that you have in your mind that you'd like to share?
The only thing which I can't emphasize enough is that, because I keep seeing this, I keep seeing with this with most of my clients, that what keeps them stagnant in their careers is them not focusing on developing their personal skills. So if there is one key takeaway you need to have from this particular podcast with me and Andrea, I would say it is this: please focus on developing your personal skills.
Great. And I guess this answer also to the last question, because final one, I was thinking about you telling us 3 ideas, pieces of advice, or anything that you think our listeners should keep in mind after this conversation.
I will say that you should keep in mind the 3 P's that can catalyze your career: the personal skills, the personal brand, and people. And if you want to start somewhere, I know it's not practical to start in all these 3 areas together. If you want to focus on one area, I would ask you to start with personal skills. And parallelly, when you are working on your personal skills, start building your network. And then the third aspect comes in: when you have a good network, you can start doing your personal branding. But this could be the sequence. You can look at the personal skills, the people, and the personal brand. And that's basically the only advice I have. I think in this whole conversation, we have had the same thread of discussion of how you can catalyze your career. And the reason I quoted multiple sources of research is because I wanted to emphasize the importance of it, because rarely we look at it from that point of view. We rarely look at how our careers are evolving, our economy is evolving, to see how our job market will change. And that is why generally when people suddenly get laid off, or suddenly feels that I'm struggling to find a job, is because you have not done that homework when when you were actually in your job. You should not, you should not look at building your network when you lose your job. You should be building your network all the while when you are in your work, in your career. You should be building and developing your personal skills all the while when you are in your career. So if you wait until the moment you lose a job to create the LinkedIn profile, the LinkedIn network, or all the network which we are talking about, you are late. You're literally late to the race. That because it takes time. Everything takes time. And that brings back to the whole thing which we were discussing about patience. Everything takes time, and your career is not just a stint. It is a journey, and all these 3 P's are important for you to accelerate your career.
Yes, and as you were talking about that thing, how the economy will evolve, because we're seeing more and more often that that yes, it will be an improvement on this area, also related to the careers, but we hear more and more often about the service economy type of type of
Yes.
things. And yeah, it's really important to have an overview, not just, okay, I'm doing my job and that's it. I'm accomplishing those tasks and that's it. It's
Yeah,
not about that
and it's
anymore.
yeah, and it is also important to have that financial stability, because these days the job economy is extremely volatile. So it's important that you focus on your financial aspects as well. It's not something which we discussed here, but it is important that you focus on your financial aspect. Make sure that you have enough financial assets that can feed into you when you don't have a job. You are not pushed or forced to take any job that comes your way, because you do have some financial assets that helps you survive during that period, so that you will be in a better position. Even if you do all of these things, even if you don't get a job, you still have a financial backup that will help you stay calm when you're searching for a job.
Yes, because otherwise you can't, because the stress
Yes.
will be so high. You won't be 100% the person that you are when you
Yeah.
are comfortable in your day-to-day life. And I guess this was it, the episode. I really enjoyed the conversation. I wish I hear this episode right before starting my career, to be honest. So after graduating. So yeah, I guess this is a really, really good conversation that not just us, the ones that we have experience in our jobs, but for the people that are new in their career. So I can't wait to share this with everybody. And as we are both people person, let's say, I guess this episode should be dedicated in a way to all the people that influenced our career or influenced our life at a certain point in time. I really believe that people are so important in our lives. We can't build things without great people around us, and it's exactly not only in our careers but in our personal lives as well. Thank you so much for being part of this episode, for sharing this amazing views of yours, and for leaving a mark and for touching lives.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrea. It was a pleasure to be here today to talk to your listeners, to speak to you. I have been waiting to speak to you for a long period of time. We should catch up once in a while, even if it's through Zoom. I know we can't travel, but definitely we should catch up very soon. And I would like to emphasize on one thing, because since you mentioned about the people who have an influence in our life, I definitely believe that we have to dedicate this episode to them, because we are here today because of those amazing people whom we have had in our lives. And sometimes we always think that our career and our personal life is two different things, but unfortunately that's not the case. It is so entwined that, you know, it is like your career is your life as well, because you spend most of your time in your career, and that becomes your life. So it's important that you focus on your personal life as well as on your career. That would be my parting thoughts.
And there's a thing, I had a presentation the other days in my job, and I started the presentation with this question. Do you remember you before being you, before shaping yourself into the person that you are today? What if all the people that supported you at a certain point in time, that were with you, along with you, that gave you feedback, hadn't?
Wow, that's a powerful question, Andrea.
We have that invisible, I know, I feel it. So we will definitely make this world a better place from career perspective and from personal perspective as well. And thank you so much for being part of this big vision and mission.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It's my pleasure.
So this is it for today. Thanks a lot for staying with us till the end of the episode. I trust you have at least one idea, if not many, that you can put into practice starting now. If you want to be part of this mission where we share to those that are listening a new perspective on life, you can drop me a message, and who knows, maybe you are my next guest. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that have great and new perspectives that can be shared with the world, and I can't wait to hear more about you. If you know anything, don't keep it for yourself. I'm on a mission of inspiring you to find or reactivate those resources that you need, or those that you already have, so that you live a life that you love with few or no regrets, and without constantly asking yourself, what would have been if I only knew this earlier. The episodes can be listened on Spotify, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Breaker, Anchor, and of course, YouTube. Thank you so much again. I'm really grateful for you being here. And as always, keep in mind that when people get together, things are always easier.